ESPNcricinfo chats to Bryan Waddle today, New Zealand cricket commentator who's celebrating his 200th Test match. Bryan, it's more than most players. How are you feeling?
Not too bad. Get a little bit tired, of course. 31 years covering cricket is a long time, but it's a lot of fun, and that's the most important thing. I've had a lot of fun. I wouldn't have it any other way. To be able to do for a job what is my passion is something extra special.
Do you remember your first Test match?
Yep, out here, Basin Reserve, New Zealand versus India, 1981, February 1981. New Zealand won the Test match. The last wicket to fall was what was an often happening event in those days. Court Smith bowled Hadley, and India were beaten in a Test match here, and I remember it as though it was yesterday. It was an exciting day.
And have you been a good luck charm for New Zealand since then?
Not always. I think of the 200 Test matches I've done, I think New Zealand have only won about a quarter of them, 49, 50 of them. So that wouldn't be such a good luck charm, but you know, I've been around to see a number of the great games that New Zealand have played in, and that too has a lot of pleasure for me.
You must have seen New Zealand cricket change a lot over the course of those number of years. What do you think's been the biggest change?
The biggest change has been the professionalism within the game. When I first started going, it was only semi-professional, and players were pretty much amateurish in approach to some degree. The game has changed quite dramatically there. New Zealand has done its best to stand up against the best sides in the world, and they compete pretty generally with all those sides. I don't think that New Zealand is ever going to be number one in the Test match arena, but to be able to compete with them and challenge the best in the world, I think is always an important part of the New Zealand game. New Zealand generally has had pretty good one-day performances, and they've got into the top four at World Cups, and that's been a good achievement by New Zealand. But of course, Test cricket is the area where we have the biggest challenge and the biggest hurdles to overcome.
And you must have seen a lot of the New Zealand players grow up basically in front of your eyes. Do you remember any of them as young kids who are playing here today?
Yes, indeed. I remember, I'm in two generations now. I've commentated fathers and I've commentated sons. Doug Bracewell and his father Brendan Bracewell. Tom Latham playing for New Zealand in the series here, and his father Rod Latham. The McCullums, whose father played first-class cricket, who I broadcast. I remember talking to Brendan McCullum in a hotel in India during the World Cup, and he said to me, he remembers the day when he and his brother Nathan used to lie in bed. They shared a room, and they listened to radio cricket commentaries with me from the other side of the world as young kids. You know, and that sort of, I don't know, makes you feel old. It might make you feel important, I think, but you know, it's interesting that that's how they grew up, much the same way as I grew up, listening to cricket commentaries from the other side of the world when New Zealand were playing.
Technology's changed, and we see cricket broadcast in all sorts of different ways. We've got a little video camera with us today. What do you think's the magic of radio?
The magic of radio is that you are the eyes for the public, or you try to be the eyes. You try to create the picture rather than just the video screen or the TV that's there in front of people, and that's the challenge in as much as anything. There's a bit of mystery, the number of times that people will lie in bed in the middle of the night and listen to cricket matches with the radio under their pillows and wake up just as a wicket has fallen, not beforehand. You know, they hear the noise, they hear the rush of excitement, and they wake up just a little bit too late to miss the wicket, but you have to recapture that for them. So I mean, that's what radio does to people. You're in their living rooms, you are providing them with the picture that hopefully they are seeing, and that is a good picture that they're getting.
And what would you like to cover from here?
Cricket-wise?
Yeah.
Well, I just like to keep going as long as I'm capable of doing the job. We've got the Cricket World Cup here 2015, and I'm sure I'll be around for that length of time. But I just love Test cricket, you know, and if I can follow the game around the world and follow the New Zealand side and its development, then I will enjoy that. It's a big challenge. I love the challenge. It's not as exciting now with the amount of air travel and the security involved and a lot of those sorts of things. That takes some of the fun out of it. But as long as I can do it, I'll continue wanting to do it.
Where's your favourite ground in all your travels that you've visited?
You're right here.
That's
the best
fantastic.
ground in the world as far as I'm concerned. I love it here. Love the Wanderers in South Africa because it is a ground with an embankment like this ground, and grounds that are true traditional cricket grounds are the places to go. Lords, of course, you've always got to incorporate Lords as one of the great grounds, but the ground that I love the most, I guess, is where I was brought up, here at the Basin Reserve.
Well, we'll hold thumbs that New Zealand give you happy memories from today. Bryan Waddle, thanks very much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.